Welcome to 412 Sports Talk, the number one podcast for Pittsburgh sports. Steelers, we talk it. Penguins, we talk it. Pirates, yeah, we talk it. With the biggest guests.
Bob Pompiani, Pittsburgh legend. Mayor Bill Peduto, the mayor of the city of Pittsburgh, is on with us. Doran Dickerson, West Allegheny legend.
Trey Essex, welcome.
Available on iTunes and Spotify. Hosted by Mad Chad Nolan.
It over too much. Well, now he's not turning it over at all.
And Eddie Provident.
We've got the best team in football.
And now, 412 Sports Talk.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the 412 Sports Talk podcast. It feels like it's been forever for me, man. I was gone for a week, and then, we took a couple of days off. We're recording on a Sunday rather than a Wednesday. And with this move and everything, I've kind of been out of the loop. I really haven't even been on social media lately. So it's good to be back on the 412 Sports Talk podcast, brought to you by MCM Studios. I'm your host, Eddie Provident, and with me, as always, is my main man, Mad Chad.
Yep.
And then you'll see that we've got Josh Cybulski, that is author Josh Cybulski of Second Story Work. He's going to be kind of like, what Chad did with Jesse Marshall last week, kind of a co-host. Josh is just along for the ride for the whole episode today. We're going to get his input on some hockey stuff. He's in Ottawa, the epicenter of the Matt Murray implosion. So we're going to talk to him about what's going on with Matt Murray, if it's a Matt Murray thing or an Ottawa Senators thing. And we're going to talk a little bit about his book and a project that he's got going on that he's called Seconds to Work. Kind of pick his brain about what he's been doing. So we've got a lot to talk about. So we're just going to hop right into it. Guys, the first thing that we need to talk about on a Pittsburgh sports podcast is Juju Smith-Schuster. That's the talk of social media right now. That's kind of where everybody's mind's at. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? I think most likely he's going to go, especially.
He gone.
Especially if you read his last tweet. But what's your take on Juju's legacy? We'll just assume that he's gone out of Pittsburgh, because as much as I'd like to hold on to hope, he's gone. So what's his legacy as a Steeler, and then what should his legacy be?
His legacy for me is good player and fun personality. I like that he annoys all the old white curmudgeon in the sports media. I think their hatred of him is. I know we don't like to accuse anybody of being like racist, but sometimes when I look at Juju and I look at some of the local media says about him, and I'm like, okay, this guy, like, he's never been like arrested. He's never like had problems with drugs or alcohol or beat women. And then they're like, Juju's like, they're like, he's toxic. And I'm like, because he dances and he's on TikTok. I mean, I think that's more maybe just a generational gap, but there is a huge double standard there, because Hines Ward did a lot of that stuff. Hines Ward was on freaking Dances with the Stars and was on TMZ drunk as hell, getting busted for a DUI. But like, it's weird that like Hines Ward wasn't labeled like that.
Well, at least one of these old curmudgeons didn't like Hines Ward.
True, that is true. That is true.
And he also didn't like a lot of other athletes that had a lot in common with Juju and Hines Ward. So, so we'll leave it at that.
As far as like, I think he's a decent football player. I will say that like, if I was a general manager with the salary cap, I wouldn't pay him number one wide receiver money, which is usually like $14 million plus a year.
Right.
To me, I don't think he's worth that. I think he is like, if he's your solid number two receiver, like, that's perfect. I definitely think you have to argue that he benefited that 1 year he had his best year, where he had Ben, who was much better that year, and he also had AB on his other side, taking a lot of pressure off him. It was hard to judge him last year with Mason and Duck in there, so I kind of gave him a pass. But I mean, everybody was like, "Oh, it's the way they used him this year." But Chase Claypool had 11 touchdowns this year. Like, Ben was still able to make some throws. I just don't think Juju is that good. But then I come to his defense, because again, he makes all the old cranky people miserable, which I totally support.
Yeah, for me, it comes down to, he still led the team in catches. He had 97 catches this past season. He was Ben's number one guy on third downs for, as far as first down.
He was Mr. Reliable.
Yeah, he was Mr. Reliable. He was Ben's security blanket. Normally we see Ben's security blanket as someone like a Heath Miller, the big tight end in the middle. And Juju kind of filled that role from the slot. And he also, in the last 2 years, was one of the top-ranked slot receivers, right up there with Tyler Boyd in the NFL. I think it was over the last was it last season or last 2 seasons, from the slot he's had 9 touchdown catches, which ranks number 1 in the NFL. So the point is, for me, his legacy is going to be a really solid security blanket for Ben, a very physical player. Very physical, kind of in the mold of Hines Ward, since you bringing him up. Will block, will do the dirty work, but also for me, you can't talk about Juju without talking about his off the field, philanthropic side. He's given so much to the community. He's given so much in donations to charities. He's constantly out, like just hanging out with people, taking selfies with people, having a fun time, just being a part of the community of the city of Pittsburgh. And I think that there's a lot to be said for that. When you have somebody that goes out of his way to endear himself to the city, to me, that matters almost as much as what you do on the field. And the fact that that's what got him in trouble with a lot of people is just frustrating to me.
And also, people like, oh, he's doing it for PR reasons. But here's the thing. When you do the right thing, even for the wrong reason, you're still doing the right thing. It's a hell of a lot better than the alternative.
Right.
And then 2, you can't tell me that when someone on social media, whether it's your friends or someone that you are entertained by, does something good, right? They post like, oh, I did this. And then it's like, but you know what? Sometimes I go, you know what? I think I need to go do something good today. It does have a chain reaction. Even our other podcasts and stuff like that, they'll be like, oh, we're going to do a giveaway. I'm like, you know what? We're doing a giveaway because there's a certain like serotonin level that you get when you're like, I'm giving something to somebody, or I'm going to go do a good deed. So to me, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, it can be tacky, but being tacky is not the worst thing that you can be if that's all it really is.
Like when you and I, if we go see a good movie, it inspires us to go, I'm going to go write a movie, right. Or write if you read a good book. Same
and
with
it's kind of tacky and kind of cringe, but it's still harmless.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing. Ultimately, you're inspiring people. I think for Juju, like to have a young guy who goes out and, does that kind of charity work, you don't always get that, especially with young athletes. Like you can take a look, just look at hockey players, like the young guys, what they do. I mean, exclude Sidney Crosby because he's kind of the exception, but there's a lot of young hockey players who have done a lot of dumb stuff. Like if you look back, Pat Kane, Claude Giroux here in Ottawa has done, a couple dumb things. There's a long list of it. And I mean, it applies to every sport too. Baseball, football, basketball. You don't always get young guys who are going to go out and do charity work, and good for Juju.
Yeah. And I mean, you brought up other podcasts. I just want to shout out Around the 412. I want to read their tweet earlier today. It says, we've said it before, but we'll say it again. Juju was a huge inspiration for us in terms of the charitable and philanthropic work that we do. Thank you for using your platform. No matter how this plays out, we want the best for you and your family. Thank you, number 19, Team Juju. To me, that speaks volumes when somebody says, hey, you inspired me to be a better person. You inspired us to do things to help our community. It's really not cringe to me at all when people say that they were, inspired by something or someone. And the fact that him having fun, dancing on the field,
playing video games, doing TikTok, like that's what young, like I hate that I have to say this now. Like I'm 31.
that's what the 20-year-olds and the 22-year-olds and the 23-year-olds, they're on
Those
TikTok
kids
now.
these
That's
days.
I still play
Yeah.
video games, but
Me
here's the
too.
thing: he could be doing a hell of a lot worse than that. That's
Exactly.
if anything, you'd be like, hey, it's Friday night and he's
not
home.
throwing furniture off a balcony.
Right, he's
not
home
beating
playing video
women. He's
games,
not,
resting,
yeah.
as opposed to out partying, doing drugs, getting drunk, getting in trouble. Like sign me up for that every day of the week.
Right. So yeah, like for me, I hope, I guess my pipe dream is that because the salary cap is set so low in the NFL this year, that he's not going to get what he thinks he's going to get. And it'll be a close enough gap to where he'll just take a team discount and stay with the Steelers. But when I say pipe dream, I mean like the straw you use for your milkshake. Like that's the size of the
I will
pipe.
say,
Like,
I'm not
it's
trying to argue with just you, but the whole notion of a team discount to me is hilarious because Juju Smith-Schuster is from Southern California.
Right.
So he just so happened to be drafted by the Steelers. And it's so funny for like Steelers fans to be like, I don't understand why. If it was me, I would just take a discount to stay with the Steelers. Well, you're a Steelers fan, so of course you feel that way.
There's one football player in the last 20 years that I know that has taken discounts on the regular, and it's Tom Brady. I mean, like Tom Brady could be the highest paid quarterback in the history of the NFL. He just continues to take discounts so his teams can keep winning Super Bowl, assign people to get them in a position to win Super Bowls.
It's just funny when Yinzer say that because I'm like, okay, so you're whatever job you have right now, somewhere in Ohio calls, like somewhere a job in Ohio calls, like, hey, we're willing to literally triple your salary. And we'll pay for you to move out here. You're probably going to take that unless like there's some like medical reason why you can't. Like you're probably going to take that other job opportunity. And I'm gonna be like, well, if it were me, I would take a lower salary to stay in Pittsburgh because I love Pittsburgh, man. Like that's delusional.
Josh, you have the outside. Well, you're in an interesting situation with this because you are technically an outsider. You're not even from the States, but you are an insider when it comes to Pittsburgh Twitter. Are Yinzers that delusional? Like, are we really that out of whack?
Well, first off, to Chad's point, there's no amount of money that's getting me to move to Ohio. So we can cross that. Sorry. You know what? I think you can't paint everyone with the same brush. So I don't think you can say it's all Yinzers, but there definitely are some who, you read some of their tweets and you're like, this person's out of their mind.
But you have seen that comment before, right? Like if it were me, if it were me, I would take a discount. Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen it like with Penguins Twitter too. People are like, oh, well, yeah, he's going to stay on a hometown discount. It's like, yeah, but he's from British Columbia. Like
it doesn't make any sense at all.
He wants to go to Vancouver. Actually, you know what's a good one is remember when the Penguins traded for Dan Hamhuis?
Yeah.
I remember Twitter blowing up. People are like, oh, he'll sign because, we got Sid and we got Gino. And I was like, yeah, but he can go home. Like he can go back to and play in Vancouver. Why wouldn't he want to do that?
Not to mention, what if he doesn't like Sid? Like you don't know that. Like
I know a lot of people. I don't know. It's funny that people do that, but I agree with Chad's point. And if I was an athlete, I mean, I wouldn't take a discount to play in Ottawa. I mean, obviously with Melnick being the owner, but I don't think I would take a discount to play for the Penguins either.
There's things that don't like factor in that like we don't know about, like where their family lives, or like, hey, I can go to this state and have good weather and not pay like income taxes. Like that shit goes into this stuff.
That's number one for me. I got Florida. I got Texas. Where else am I not paying?
Arizona,
Nevada,
I think.
Arizona. I'd probably go to Vegas.
You'll get taxed on everything here.
Well, that was like the JJ Watt thing. They were like, why would he go to Arizona? And I was like, well, you got good weather. They're open. The team's not terrible, so it's not like he's going to a bad team. And also, they paid him the most money, so he's out in Arizona. He's right next to California and Vegas and Texas, and he's getting the most money. So, again, those are just things that, like, when people have those fan goggles on, they just don't think about.
I got one that's, like, people really don't think about. If you want to get really in-depth with this stuff, you think about a guy going to Arizona. A lot of chefs, like world-class chefs, live in Arizona. And we can't go to restaurants the rest of the world. If you're an athlete who likes, fine dining and that kind of stuff, you got like Scott Conant living down the street from you, like one of the best chefs in the world. That's something that guys like that who have the money to do it are going to think about. Whereas like, I'm not going to think about that.
Even like, the shopping centers, the nightlife, all that stuff. are things that, us working poor, we probably don't think about because we're like, well, I can't afford that shit anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's true though.
But so we're gonna have to. I mean, I don't think we're gonna have to wait and see what happens with Juju. We're just gonna have to wait and see where he ends up because, like I said, I think we're all in agreement that he's gone. Whether we like it or not, he is. It's just a matter of which team signs him. I just hope it's not in the AFC North because that would be a worst case scenario because I really like him a lot.
I think he'll go where whoever gives him the most money is where he's. I'm not, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
No,
that's what most people would probably do.
People have turned him building his brand into a bad thing, as if that's not what most people are trying to do.
Listen, we're just jealous.
Let him build his brand. Let him build his brand on the field and off the field. And
I wish my brand was worth that.
Exactly. Like
even a fraction of that. Yeah.
If he wants to go somewhere where, he's going to make 12, 13 million a year on the field, but make 12, 13 million a year off the field too. In, Twitch and TikTok and advertisements and sponsorships, and let him go, man.
And the thing is, that money off the field is going to go I'm pretty sure Peyton Manning has probably made more money off the field than he did on the field at this point. Yeah, which is crazy because he made a lot of money on the field. But that stuff, you can continue to do that once you're done playing football, which is so smart.
Yeah, and that, not to keep beating a dead horse, but why is it okay when Peyton Manning builds his brand while he's a football player, but when Juju builds his brand, it's all of a sudden this
can't figure it out.
Yeah. I wonder what it could be.
What could that possibly
be? Yeah, that was a very rhetorical question.
Like I said, when the day that Juju's doing DWIs and throwing furniture at children off a balcony is the day that I'll be like, yeah, he's a POS. But I at the most, he's a very selfish or self-oriented person, but I can't even hate on that because who isn't like that nowadays? Who doesn't I look good today, let me post a selfie and see how many likes I get and stuff like that. Regular people do that. So put yourself in this kid's shoes where he's literally a celebrity.
Right. He looks like he's genuinely enjoying it too. And so let him have his fun, man. Let him do his thing. And look, we can sit here and keep going about Juju because trust me, I've had rants ready to go for this, and we can keep going. But with Josh on the show, we want to talk some hockey. Mm-hmm. We've got a good old Canadian boy on the show, and I want to talk some hockey. And before we get into the Penguins and their win streak and how hot Malkin and Gensel have been and how great Kasperi Kapanen's been, I want to talk to you. I want to get the Ottawa inside scoop on what in the world is going on with Matt Murray. We knew that he took a step back last year, and we knew that the Penguins were not going to bring him back. I don't think that anybody imagined it would be this bad. Is it all Matt Murray, or is it partly Matt Murray, partly the fact that he plays for the Ottawa Senators? As a Ottawatonian, what do you guys call yourselves?
Ottawatonian sounds right.
Yeah. Ottawatonian, yeah, sure.
Yeah, as an Ottawa guy, what is going on up there that this team just looks like it's in shambles?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of everything you just laid out. It's partly the baggage that he carried from Pittsburgh. Like we saw it in the last, year and a bit that the way he played, his confidence was just shot. You'd see him, he'd be deep in his net when he shouldn't be. He didn't challenge the way he did back in 16, 17. That aggressiveness was kind of gone. That poise was gone. And I think he carried some of that doubt, over the border into Ottawa. And it's kind of a lethal combination with the doubt that the Senators have as an organization and kind of the chaos that's around that team, starting from Melnyk on down. This team it was weird to watch what they did it wasn't the summer, but in the off season, we'll call it, acquiring veterans, and the veterans that they went out and got I didn't really understand them. They could have signed those guys like that for nothing. Rather they, traded draft picks for these guys, but they didn't really address one of their biggest issues, which is team defense. This is a team that cannot play defense at all. And yeah, I mean, Murray's really struggled. But if you look at, their other goaltenders, they've struggled almost to the same level that Murray has. So I think it really is a combination of things, but they just look disastrously bad. And it really reminds me of the Oilers when they went through their run where they were getting like Taylor Hall and they had Eberle and they were getting all these good draft picks, but they just couldn't put it together as a team. Ottawa seems like that's where they are right now. If you watch them, that's the sense I get, at least.
No, I think, there's a chance that the confidence might be shot, like, to the point where Murray's now venturing in. This is going to be two years in a row where he's like been below average. And he also had a mediocre season 2 years ago. He's only had one actual decent season since his rookie year. And at some point you're going to have to maybe bring the Fleury experience in, where you bring maybe a sports psychologist and then you hire a new goalie coach to work with mechanics. It's both. But when you have a mentally shot goalie, man, I don't know how you overcome that other than having them get out of that, because we've seen it. We've seen it here in Pittsburgh. Again, like, go look at Fleury 2010 to 2013, and he had no confidence. I mean, it would be a wrist shot, and you'd be like, "Oh, that's going in," and then all of a sudden, the light it switched. And look, Fleury's, to his credit, Fleury's gotten better every year since that last bad postseason. He's having the best year of his career. So I don't think like it's over for Murray, but I think at this point, man, I think maybe you need to like take a step back. I don't know if keep trotting him out there every night is the answer, because it could just get worse. Like, you're like, oh well, yeah, if he has a good game, but also, like we said, he's also playing behind Ottawa, so it's not even like he's going to get the help that he needs.
I think that might be the bigger issue, Chad, is that he's playing behind Ottawa's team right now. If like the worst thing that you can do for a goalie that has no confidence is put him in front of, or put him behind a team that can't protect him and can't help him. Ottawa's not going to win him a game, 5-4. Ottawa's not going to get him out of that slump. He's going to have to steal games on his own, and he doesn't have the confidence to do that right now. One of the things that we were talking before we got on the recording, Josh, is guys like Thomas Chabot and Eric Brandstrom or Brandstrom?
There's Eric Goodbranson.
Eric Goodbranson, and then
okay.
What was the other young kid that
Brandstrom?
Yeah. That's two defensive guys that were highly touted. I mean, they got Brandstrom in the Erik Karlsson deal. Or in the Mark Stone deal. Yeah. That was supposed to be a big time piece. Thomas Chabot was supposed to be a big time piece, and they just haven't looked the part. Is this a matter of, just again, the whole organization being a mess, or is it, is this just guys underachieving or just not put in situations to produce?
I think it's not being put in situations where they can produce. Like if you look at Pittsburgh back with Chris Letang, right? He came in and he was basically a 5'6" his first couple years. He was able to just learn to be a pro, learn how to play, somewhat defensive hockey. We can debate that, but his offense was able to develop, right, into what he became.
He just turns the puck over too much.
I mean, that's because he's always, Ottawa loves to make that argument too here about certain guys. Erik Karlsson, when he was here, that was a favorite. So you mentioned Chabot. Chabot's playing as a 1 right now, and he shouldn't be. There should be somebody there to insulate him.
They're throwing him to the wolves.
Exactly. Yeah. And they're doing that with a whole bunch of guys throughout that roster. Guys that, should be playing lower in your lineup that are forced to elevate because the depth's just not there. They didn't go out and they didn't get, veterans. Whereas back in the day, Pittsburgh was able to do that. Like Gonchar was able to man the power play for Pittsburgh. Letang, got to play on the second unit. And then eventually, Gonchar leaves, Letang elevates, and you get what you get. But Ottawa they don't have that in place. And Edmonton didn't either back in the day. And they've been a disaster for 15 years.
Yeah. And it's a shame because I know that Ottawa has a solid fan base. I know that, they have a hunger for a good hockey team, but Melnyk just hasn't provided that at all.
No.
I think that I think
they feel like
kind
the Pittsburgh Pirates.
I was about to say
they fluked themselves into that into the conference finals and almost fluked themselves into a cup appearance. But yeah, it's just not a good situation in Ottawa right now. It's just there's nothing to be excited about. There's really nothing to there's nothing to say about that team right now, and that's sad that that fan base doesn't have anything. They're one of the teams that are on they're on an internal cap too, right? Like Melnick has them on an internal cap, so they're not even going to spend to the cap and try to
no. I mean,
he to build a team around these young guys.
He'll spend below the ceiling. He won't get to the cap. Like when he bought the team, he was a billionaire. He's one of the richest people in Canada, and I don't even think I think he's worth, I don't know, maybe 700 or 800 million, which is a lot of money. But when you own an NHL team, it really isn't. And I'd say a lot of his wealth is actually tied up in that team. So he really can't. And the revenue is just not there. Ottawa's a government city, so the government doesn't need to advertise for your hockey team. So that, there's not a huge corporate base that he can draw from. Whereas, somewhere like Toronto or Pittsburgh, I mean, there's more corporations there that'll advertise.
Do you see the Senators being there in the long-term future, or do you think that that's a team that may be relocated?
Ooh, that's a tough one. The thing is there is a huge market here, and Ottawa's a city that's exploding, like population-wise. They've had to expand city limits so many times. So there is a hunger here for a good hockey team. I don't think he can own it, though. I think it comes down to whether he gets rid of it. If he gets rid of it, they stay. If he holds on to it for another decade, I can't see them making it. That's really what it comes down to.
I remember when he first took over the team, didn't an Ottawa Senators fan give him a kidney or something like that, or like donate?
That was like 5 years ago. Yeah.
Like he was so beloved by that fan base that they literally were giving body parts to him.
He did save this team. Yeah. They were done in the early 2000s, around the time Pittsburgh was done. He saved them. He was their Mario Lemieux.
Yeah.
Not, but similar. Yeah. But yeah, it's not gone well for him since then.
Yeah. Well, it's not gone well for Matt Murray because of all of that. And I think we talked kind of probably a 50-50 thing with Matt Murray in the Sens. But enough Sens talk. This is a Pittsburgh Penguins, Pittsburgh-centric podcast. Pens are a 5-game winning streak. They're beating teams that they're supposed to beat. They look good.
7-3 in their last 10.
7-3 in their last 10. They're now in third place in the division, and they're climbing. Evgeny Malkin has shaken off any rust that has been hindering him. Jake Gensel has found his scoring touch. Kasperi Kapanen looks like the first round pick that everyone said Kasperi Kapanen was going to be. What happened from now, or from when we were talking a couple of months ago about this team we were talking with Bob Pompiani about this team being sellers at the deadline to all of the sudden they look like a legitimate cup contender again. Like, they're barring injuries, they have a couple of things that they need to tighten up, but there's no perfect team in the NHL this year. What happened? Did they just finally get it? Did it just click? I mean, they're getting goaltending. Like, obviously the goaltending is a big part.
Tristan Jarry deserves a lot of credit.
Yes, he does. Absolutely.
And that's the thing with, like, when I was tweeting out, like, hey, Tristan Jarry's not playing well, and right away, you just hate Tristan Jarry. I'm like, no,
it's just a matter of fact.
He just wasn't playing well. And now he is playing well. And now I'm saying he's playing well. You see how that works? Dude, he's locked in.
You can't be objective. You're not allowed.
And same thing with Letang and Malkin. They were dog shit the first
they were bad.
2 weeks. Let's just call us. You know me. I'm Letang cult all the way, baby. I'll make you all drink the Kool-Aid. And he was garbage. But he has, like, even people that I usually see that don't like Letang are like, hey, Letang's been playing pretty well. Like, Malkin is another one where, like, we talked about this with Hunter, like, I don't understand the Geno hate. I know that there is some, like, anti-Russian xenophobia that goes on there for sure. Especially when people are like, "Oh, there's typical lazy Malkin," and I'm like, "Typical like the guy that won Conn Smythes is lazy? Like, really?"
Yeah, I don't get it.
But like, they had a bad start, and some of us overreacted. When you do podcasts and YouTube shows and blogs, you're gonna put yourself in a corner where you probably say something stupid. I didn't say that they should trade Tristan Jarry and make Casey Smith the starter. I know who did though, and but
hold on, I missed that one.
Oh yeah, search
really
trade. Penn should trade Tristan Jarry.
Someone actually said that.
Yeah, start
a certain genius.
Yeah.
Oh, I did see that. Okay, wait. All right. I know what we're talking about now. I did see that. I have that certain person muted, and I pretend he doesn't exist. So I saw that tweet going around, and I just laughed every time I saw it. It just wasn't. It didn't stick. But yeah, that's
everything's just clicking now, though, and I was never gonna doubt Malkin, other than maybe Father Time was coming a little sooner than I expected. Usually it's like 36. He's only 34. So I'm like, nah, he's still got like two or 3 years left of playing not elite hockey, but good hockey. And I'm never going to doubt Sidney Crosby. The guys that have been pleasant surprise to me are Teddy Bluger, who I thought Teddy Bluger would be like a good fourth line center, but I never expected him to produce at the level that he is now. And Cody Ceci. Like, of all people.
Yeah,
And here's the thing. Cody Ceci is proof that people that use analytics, like analytics, talk about analytics, don't have any kind of personal agenda, because everybody that does that is like, yeah, Cody Ceci's been pretty good this year. Because the numbers don't lie. He hasn't been like, I'm not talking about he's like an all-star defenseman, but he has been competent, and that is better than they got out of Schultz and Johnson last year.
Yeah, and honestly, he's been one of their, more consistent defensemen too. Like that's like, it's crazy, but what you're getting when he's on the ice.
It's crazy when a defenseman just is like competent enough to keep the puck from going over the blue line and maintaining possession, and you're like, wow, yeah.
Josh, this is another one I wanted to talk with you about, because he was in Ottawa and then he went to Toronto. They made they traded him for Nikita Zaitsev, right? Yeah. So he went to Toronto. Toronto hated him. At least my favorite guy in Toronto, Steve Dangle, hated him. But like I think that the difference, maybe the big difference here, is the price tag. He was making over $4 million a year with the Sens and the Leafs.
Yeah.
And if CC was making over $4 million a year with the Penguins right now, I think we would have a much different opinion on Cody Ceci right now. I don't think he's worth $4 million, even as good as he's been this year. But that $1.1 or $1.2 million cap hit for one season is much more palatable and much more fair for what Cody Ceci does on a hockey team. Do you did he show signs of this in Ottawa, or was it just another one of those, it didn't work there, it didn't work in Toronto, and just something clicked in Pittsburgh?
He had moments. I think the last time I was on your show, I talked about him having moments, like being, a decent penalty killer, and he could at least, make a first pass. The one thing he has is that he can skate. Like, he's a pretty decent skater. He's not, all world, but he's not Jack Johnson either. So he can at least, move around the ice, which is good. And he's got a, not a great hockey sense, but, at least he knows where he should put himself. So there were moments in Ottawa. Him and Phaneuf, actually, the first year that they were paired together, they were pretty decent. That was the year that they went on that run, right. The miracle run where they almost knocked off Pittsburgh. But he was pretty good that year. He actually wasn't bad in Toronto last year, but it's the fishbowl of being a Leaf that I think really, they just picked away at him. I think part of it too is there's no pressure on him in Pittsburgh. Like you say, he's on a 1-year deal, $1.25 million. There's no expectation of him being great. He's just come in and be a 5-6, and that's what he's done. So I think that's a big part of it too.
And he's been a good 5-6, like Chad said. He's a lot better than what we were getting from Schultz.
Jumping up in play.
Yeah, he has a deceptively good shot too, which I didn't know about him. Like I didn't know that he actually could get the puck off that quick. and that accurately. Like I've been really impressed with what he's added to the offensive game too. I didn't expect anything, so like any little bit would have been good. So that's been encouraging too.
Yeah, he played junior here in Ottawa too for the 67s, and he was a real good junior player. Like they had him, I forget exactly where he got drafted in the first round, but it was in the top 15, I believe. Might have been 12th, something like that. But like he was highly touted. But I mean, so was Mike Matheson.
And
I think actually the
Eric
same year,
Branson
maybe.
Jack
Eric
Branson.
Branson.
And the other guy that I feel like for some reason people weren't high enough on is Jared McCann, who's probably about to make himself some nice money after this next contract.
If he can stay healthy.
Yeah, that is that. And man, is that frustrating when like the same guy keeps getting hurt, and you're like, is it bad luck? Is it, is it this, is that? But he is such a good two-way forward that he does have spouts here where he, he's a little snake bitten, but he's one of those guys again where even when he's not scoring, he's helping there. And there's a huge difference in that. There's players that are going to help, like Zach Aston Reese is another one. Even if he goes 5 games without a goal, you still know he's going to forecheck his ass off. He's going to block shots. He's going to play good defense. And that's what Jared McCann does, to the point where I'm fine with McCann being the three center, and I'm all for acquiring another quality winger. So, because honestly, the bottom 6, if this team keeps winning, the bottom 6 still isn't, to me, what I would consider championship caliber. No. I still think they're a forward or two away from being that.
No, I think you're absolutely right about that. I think Jankowski is entirely too hit or miss. We need guys. I like Teddy Bluger. I like Zach Aston Reese.
Jankowski should be like your 14th
I like
forward.
Tanev.
Yeah.
And honestly, if you keep Tanev, Bluger, and Aston Reese as your 4th line, you just kind of put a 3rd line together.
So you have McCann.
Yeah, McCann. We were talking with Hunter Hodes on the Locked On Penguins podcast about guys like Bobby Ryan. Chad brought up Bobby Ryan.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I thought about it in the offseason. I was like, I'd take a flyer on him. Like, what do you got to lose? What's he making, like $1 million this year?
And I can't imagine Detroit's gonna. I mean, they might want like a 6th round pick or something stupid like that. Like,
yeah, it's not going to cost you anything.
As opposed to like doing because they don't have no 1st round picks. So I don't want and I don't think Hextall will, knowing that he's conservative, where he's gonna be like, all right, we're gonna give Samuel Polian and someone for a top 6 winger, and then he comes here and it's like, oh, this guy is not scoring. I've seen that happen too many times. Right. I'd rather just go with someone like Bobby Ryan, where it's low risk, possible high reward.
Yeah, I love that idea.
Ricard Raquel is the one that I'm interested in, if they can get him for the right price. I'm with you, Chad, that I don't want to see them really give up much of the futures to get somebody in here on a 1-year or 2-year deal. But if they can get Raquel at the right price, I would be completely cool with a guy like that, because you can mix and match him on the 2nd and 3rd line. If Kapanen's hitting a little bit of a cold streak, you can put Raquel up. If Raquel's hitting a cold streak, you can put Kapanen up. You kind of have a little bit of play there with how they work. So I think those are 2 names that I would love to see the Penguins in on.
I wonder if they would take Pettersson back.
Is Jim Rutherford there? And then,
because we gotta make it fair for both teams.
Yeah, of course. You know what I'm a little bit curious about is when Zucker comes back, like where does he fit in? Because he does not seem to fit in the top 6, and he should. It's just one of those things, kind of like Brassard. When they got Brassard, everything pointed to like this should work. He should be a good
Zucker
3rd
looked
center.
good last year, though. That's the crazy thing.
He did. He looks like a shell this year.
I think he should. His play style to me says that he should be playing with Crosby. Maybe Crosby just doesn't like playing with him. I know Sid is a little anal about who he plays with. Because like Hornquist again was perfect for Sid, and apparently Sid didn't like playing with him. So I mean, whatever. I guess you can't go against what Sid likes. But if Zucker's not in your top 6, I don't know if I see him helping at all.
Yeah, he's kind of like when you played Hornquist down in the bottom six, he's basically neutered, right?
Right.
And I kind of see that with Zucker too. Like what's he really?
And I'm not putting Rodriguez in the top 6. Please stop doing that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, cool. He's fast, but I mean, he's got to have more than that. He's got to bring more to the table.
One thing I do like about Rodriguez is at least he will drive the net. He will go to the net. Like he at least has, the guts to do that. Not every guy is going to do that. There are guys who will peel off.
But he might as well have nubs for hands, like literally, nice hands, feet.
Yeah, he's got hammers for hands holding onto the stick. Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah. But overall, from where we were a month ago to where we are now, I think the Penguins are in a much, much better situation. And I'm really excited to see how the division shakes out now, because we still have 6 games left against Buffalo. And I think we have all 8 against New Jersey too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could legit win this division with that schedule.
Yeah. If the other teams start to falter and the Penguins can win the games that they're supposed to win, just stay 500 against the rest of the division, it's going to look good. I mean, they're pretty much a lock for the playoffs at that point, if they do that.
I think Philly. I mean, Carter Hart was the big the season. Unless he just completely changes his game, I don't see them making the playoffs. We're going to find out about the Islanders. I think the Islanders have like 4 games against Washington, Boston, and Philly in the last month and a half. So that's going to be interesting to see how real they are.
Yeah, that's a buzzsaw. What about, what worries me about Pittsburgh, and I'm sure you guys will attest to this, is when they play Boston, I don't know what happens to their brains.
It's been like that my whole life.
Yeah, absolutely. And guess who's coming up? It's like, that's what worries me. Like, are we singing a different tune in like 5 days?
But you know what? I'm actually excited to see that. I want to see how they play against Boston.
And Boston hasn't been playing that well lately either.
That's what makes me think like trap game. Like, if you like putting money down, these might be trap games.
They're 4-4-2 in their last 10.
Yeah, they're struggling. Like Marchand's been Marchand, but
that's
they really missed Chara.
Yeah,
they missed Chara. And DeBrusque, like they had high hopes for him. He really hasn't done it. I don't know. They're an interesting team too. They're kind of like Pittsburgh. They're at the end of their run.
Well, them losing Torrey Krug and Chara. It was one thing to lose Chara, but like you're going to lose Krug and Chara in the same offseason and not replace them with like anybody relevant was mind-boggling to me when your team's competing for a cup.
What really killed them was that year they had 3 first-rounders and they blew it on all of them. Like 3 in a row, right?
That's pretty hilarious, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is. I think DeBrusque was one of them. He might have been the middle pick, but yeah, I mean, you want something better than that out of 3 first-round picks, but lucky for us, I guess.
Okay. So we're going to keep on the hockey train. The last thing I want to bring up, and then we can, I want to get into your book and, the possible TV series and everything that's going on, Josh. But I want to talk a little bit about the Olympic rosters because, we've got a Canadian here. We've got 2 U.S. guys here. How do you think that the rosters are going to shake down? Do you see any major changes from the last best on best series that we've had? I think, Connor McDavid's probably going to end up being the number 1 center for Team Canada finally. But all that means is they're going to have a Crosby, Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand line as their second line.
Yeah.
They have to fit Nathan McKinnon in there somewhere.
Nathan McKinnon's going to be in there. I believe I heard I think it was one of the Canadian insiders, maybe it was Elliot Friedman, but Chris Johnson, I think is who it was. He said that he thinks that they're going to have Team Canada is going to have a first line of Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, and there's a third person that I'm missing that I probably shouldn't be missing. Mitch Marner. So that was the first line he thinks they're going to throw out: Marner, McDavid, and McKinnon. Which, God, is that a lot?
So I'm on TSN right now. They have the top 6 as Marner, McDavid, and Mark Scheifele, and then they have Stamkos, Crosby, and McKinnon.
Wow.
God.
Scheifele's such an underrated player.
He doesn't. Really
get him out of Winnipeg.
Get everybody out of Winnipeg.
Yeah, he is. I mean, that dude is. He's
Imagine being like an elite player and like no one cares because you play for Winnipeg the whole time.
Yeah,
I doubt you guys have ever been to Winnipeg. I spent 10 days there once, and
I'm not as cold as they say it is.
So I went there in March. Actually, it was 14 years ago this week. So it was like the dead of March. It is so cold there. Like it has got to be one of the coldest places in Canada. Just the way it's completely flat all around the city. So the wind just whips through there. It's unbelievable.
So I have a hot take here. I'm looking at these projections, and I think for the first time from top to bottom as a complete unit, I think USA might have a better roster.
Well, yeah, it's going to be interesting because
Canada has more Canada has McKinnon and McDavid, which is going to, and Crosby. That's going to be it's going to be hard to look past that. But when you're looking at lines 3 and 4, and then the bottom defensive pairings, USA to me has way more depth.
Way more depth, yeah. I would say your D is probably better than ours, and goaltending, you guys definitely have the advantage as well.
Here's the projected defense for Canada: Morgan Riley, Dougie Hamilton. I like Dougie Hamilton.
That's
Shea
too good.
Weber is how old is he going to be in 2022 Olympics?
That's nuts.
Cal McCarr, that's pretty ridiculous. Petrangelo, Doughty, please play Drew Doughty and then Thomas Chabot and Shea Theodore.
Yeah, Chabot, I think by next year, I think he should be a little bit more solidified. Who's the other defenseman in Colorado that people were talking?
Sam Girard.
Yeah, Girard. I think he's going to get a look.
I think so. I can't see Doughty and Weber making that team. I know you
That's
got
dumb.
veterans, but
I would take Girard over either one of those two, honestly.
Yeah, same.
But Team USA, you're going to have down the middle Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, Dylan Larkin, and probably
right here they have JT Miller.
Yeah, JT Miller. So for me, I actually put a roster, my roster together for Team USA. I've got Gaudreau, Matthews, Kane as my first, Kyle Connor, Jack Eichel, Brock Besser is my second, DeBrincat, Dylan Larkin, Gensel is my third, Tkachuk, Matthew Tkachuk, JT Miller, Blake Wheeler is my fourth. And
I think both Tkachuks will make it, honestly.
I would take Brady Tkachuk in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
he's a warrior.
I think that Brady Tkachuk will be either. I think
put them both on the same line and just let them cause chaos.
Yeah,
let that be.
It's either going to be that or he's going to be that. He'll be the extra forward. But the defense for Team USA, I think, is really where the argument's going to go because there's a lot of guys.
Quinn Hughes.
Quinn Hughes, Jake DeBrusk, John Carlson, Charlie McAvoy, Torrey Krug, Jacob Slavin, Seth Jones.
What about Werenski too?
Zach Werenski's going to be on there.
And if they wanted to, they could put Jeff Petrie on the team.
Jeff
too.
Petrie's having it. Yeah, at 34,
right.
He's having an incredible season. You've got, if you wanted to go older, more experienced guys, you've got Ryan McDonough, Ryan Sutter. I think they're a little bit past their prime. I think it's the same thing with as Team Canada with Doughty and Weber. But then I'm going to give you a name that I think by next year is going to be working his way into this is Neil Pionk. From the Flyers.
He's underrated.
He's underrated. He scores points and he's a solid defenseman. His advanced metrics are pretty solid. They're pretty decent. And he's 25 years old. I think by next year he probably starts to get his name in that as well.
Was that a Hextall move? Him coming in or no?
Yes, I believe he was under Hextall. Yeah.
Okay.
So and I'll tell you what, if John Marino finishes this year strong and then has a good season next year going into the Olympics, they're going to invite him to the camp. I don't know that he would get onto the roster just because he's so young, but if he gets back to form and continues to progress, I think you at least have to invite him and let him and just see what he does. Maybe that's a homer take, but I think that there is a little bit there with John Marino. The point
that'd be
is
a good experience for him.
The Team US defense is so deep, man.
It's so awesome to see the evolution of USA hockey because I'm looking at the 2010 team, right? So here's the defense.
We didn't even talk about Seth Jones.
Yeah, Seth Jones, Tim Gleason, Eric Johnson, Jack Johnson, Brooks Orpik, Ryan Rafalski, Ryan Sutter, and Ryan Whitney. That was the defense in 2010.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so much better now.
What, 2 All-Stars? Yeah, 2 All-Star caliber players, 3 defensemen that I would consider below average. Look at their forwards. Chris Jory, Jamie Langenbrunner, Ryan Malone, Bobby Ryan, Paul Stastny, and then we're talking about Austin Matthews, Patrick Kane.
Yeah, Jack
Like,
Eichel, Johnny Gaudreau, Dylan Larkin.
It just goes to show
Kachuk
you
brothers.
that A, the sport has grown, and B, now the more people in America that play hockey, obviously the better athletes they're gonna turn out. And if you look at next year's draft, like mock draft for NHL, like 3 of the top 6 projected guys are all USA guys. So it just continues to, now it's so crazy. Like, I would have never been USA might beat Canada if Ryan Miller makes 48 saves and stands on his head. But now I'm like, I honestly, I think USA.
Johnny Gibson, Connor Hellebuck, and Thatcher Demko's your 3 goalies too.
Yeah,
all 3.
They have a goaltending edge for sure, because I think Hellebuck's better than Price. So
and I think Johnny Gibson might be better than Price too.
I'll tell you what, though, as always, Sweden's going to be tricky as well.
Yeah,
Sweden and Russia, they're going to be factors. They always are.
Yeah, they got Kucherov and
Gino
and Ovechkin, and then they're going to have the best goalie in the league. They're going to have Vasilevsky.
Yeah. Vasilevsky, absolutely.
And that's pretty much been their bugaboo in the past, was they didn't really have the goaltending. So honestly, man, I love Olympic hockey. I can't.
It's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be fun.
I'm really looking forward.
I think there's 4 legit teams that could win the gold, as opposed to 1 or 2.
Yeah. We're not even talking about Finland.
Finland's
always a good team. They're good. They're
Yager will probably still be playing for Slovakia.
For the Czech Republic.
Yager and Chara are going to be playing for Slovakia.
Oh, man. Well, Yager would be with the Czech Republic, but
Yeah.
And then,
Chara would be
Slovakia.
Slovakia.
I'd like to see Slovakia just bring all the old heads back. Just get Marian Hossa back. Get Chara back in there. Just bring all of their old guys and just Gaborik, and let them play.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Hold on, I got
Czech Republic. Bring back Marty Straka. Bring back keep Yager.
Here we go. Czech
Robert
Republic.
Peter
guys,
Nedved.
This is gonna be, David Pasternak's from
The Czech
Republic.
Yep.
Team's not too bad, actually. Thomas Hertel, Jacob Vrana, Andre Palat.
Even Team Germany, they're gonna be decent. Like, they had a decent showing. Was it last year or 2 years ago? They had a decent showing in the juniors. They've got Strudel. Yeah. So they've got a solid team. Like, they're not gonna have a bad team. Draisaitl and Strudel together are gonna be pretty good. That's a good one too. So they're not going to be a pushover. It's getting to the point now with hockey where it is becoming such an international sport that I think it probably is the best outside of soccer. Obviously, I think it is the best, best on best tournament that you
international.
Can have right now.
Soccer's
best on best.
The World Cup. I'll still give it to the World Cup.
The World Cup is without a doubt. I mean, there's not even a close second. I don't think. I don't even like soccer, but when the World Cup's on, I stop.
And it's like basketball, where like NBA, and like LeBron James goes and plays for France.
Yeah,
you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, but this hockey tournament, assuming the NHL players go to the Olympics, and I think everything that has been said so far on the league side, I don't see them stopping it this year, especially because China is. The Olympics will be in Beijing, and China is one of those countries that the NHL is really trying to cultivate. Yeah. So I don't see why they wouldn't be there, and that is really going to be a lot of fun to watch that. To watch the hockey in that tournament. I'm really, really looking forward to seeing Canada versus USA. Probably have to be enemies with Josh for a while, but that's okay.
That's all right. 3 hours.
Yeah,
3 hours will be enemies. Yep.
But But yeah, so I mean, that's something else to look forward to for all the hockey fans. And I'll tell you what, just go my last take on Team USA. If this was 4 years ago, a guy like Brian Rust would be a shoo-in for Team USA's roster. It is an absolute testament to what kind of depth that Team USA has now that we didn't even mention Brian Rust's name.
He is on the TSN.
Is he? Okay.
He was on the honorable mentions.
Yeah. So, but the fact that it took us till just now to bring him up and he's only an honorable mention really is a testament to what USA Hockey has done with their program and their development. That a guy like him, who is a 25-30 goal guy, is a consistent offensive producer for the Pittsburgh Penguins, isn't even really on the main, on the main chart for Team USA. So good on USA Hockey finally doing some good things on the men's side. The women's hockey team is, I mean, we know how good they are and what they're doing and what kind of program they've put together on the women's side. Josh, the last thing I want to talk about is your book and the possible TV series you've got going on and the project you've got going on right now, Seconds to Work. You've been reaching out to some different businesses, to some different individuals. You just been going down your list and checking some things off and trying to get people to work with you. And, we've had you on, we've advertised your book. We've had you talk about your book, Second Story Work. Where's the progress at? What's going on with you? And give us a little update on what's going on.
Yeah, for sure. So Chad and I are writing the series along with Corey Leckie, another Canadian from Sarnia. Corey's a filmmaker. He's got a film production company. So yeah, we're writing the first season of this thing. We'll probably finish the pilot this week. Hey, Chad, we hope. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we should be done that. And then we'll get to, episode 2 and so on. But that's the idea. We're writing the first season right now. Corey and I are going through trying to get grants up here in Canada to hopefully try and shoot this thing. You mentioned my project, Seconds to Work. The idea with that project is essentially I've written 14 names down of people who I feel can help me make this book into a television series. So the first name on the list was Chad and Corey to form my writing team, and they were nice enough to say yes. Since then, a band out of Texas, Recent Rumors, they've agreed for part of the soundtrack, so they're on board. And there's a Hollywood director that I actually reached out to who was nice enough to sit down with me for a couple hours. Didn't want to get involved in production, but was gracious enough to give us tons of advice, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying to work on a local beer company here, Whitewater Brewing, which is what I've been drinking the whole show, trying to get them on board. And from there, it's 10 more names on the list. There's some actors, there's some writers, some producers. So the idea is that once we get this pilot done, I'm going to start reaching out to people like that and trying to make this thing happen.
Awesome, man. Again, you can find the book, Second Story Work, on Amazon. It is now available on Kindle, correct?
Yeah, you can get it on Kindle, on Amazon
Kindle,
as well. Yeah.
On Amazon, through Amazon.
Yep.
So check that out. You've passed up 1,000 sales, right? You blew by that, right?
Yeah, we're getting close to 2,500 now.
2,500. Wow, man.
Yeah, it's been, well, I mean, when I did your show, I'd sold none in the States.
Okay.
And now I've sold more in the States than I have in Canada, which is nuts because I'm obviously from Canada. But yeah, I've been really fortunate that a lot of people, Rich Humes, his podcast, he, plugged it for months. A few other people have been nice enough to help me out. But yeah, it's been crazy. Most independent authors are lucky if they crack 100 copies. And, I've managed to sell a few thousand, which is pretty cool. Sweet.
And, not to throw all of your secrets out there, but you do have another project. You're working on a second book as well. And
yep.
Got some other things in the oven cooking.
Yeah, I've got books 2 and 3. I've written the first 2 drafts of both. They both take place in Pittsburgh. Basically,
they must be good then. They obviously.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, one of them. I'm debating on where the third one that I've written. I'm debating on putting it in your old stomping grounds.
I told you to come on down to Hazelwood. I'll show you the bar. I'll show you the Lytle Cafe. I'll take you around. I'll take you down to the railroad yard. I'll get you all the nitty gritty, man.
Sounds good, man. When we went on my bachelor party, we went to Pittsburgh, and I made my buddies take me to the Hill because I was researching my third book. I was like, I got to see this place for myself. And we were there like 10 minutes and they're like, can we just like go do anything else? I was like, yeah, okay. We've seen it. It's enough. But now I may have to put in Hazelwood. We'll see. I got somebody to lean on at least.
Where Chad's from, Homestead and Hazelwood and the Hill, they're all very similar neighborhoods. So they're the old steel town neighborhoods, Homestead and Hazelwood especially, both had steel mills directly in them.
Where the waterfront is now.
Yeah, where the waterfront is now
Okay.
was a steel mill. Train tracks going right through the neighborhoods. Chad's town and my town are very, very similar places. So we'll have to, give you the Yinzer version of a tour. Get
Absolutely.
you into all the hole in the walls and all that good stuff.
Well, it's good to have Chad on board. He's been able to give us, little bits here and there about it. But what we're writing, I mean, I don't typically brag about my own writing, but what Chad and Corey and I have been writing is better than anything I've ever written. It's been an unreal experience, and I think we've got something pretty cool cooking up.
Well,
and this is up my territory: drugs, crime, girls,
drugs,
dark sense of humor,
general debauchery.
General debauchery,
Degenerates
anarchy,
and
causing
Anarchy,
mayhem. I was able to. All I had to do was just go, okay, let me go back 10 years ago, and then I was able to be like, oh, this is what we should do.
Yeah, just look at your Facebook memories. Yeah,
right. Look, when speaking of debauchery and degenerates and everything, when this pandemic is over and we're allowed to travel again, and I definitely want to have you guys over to the Lytle for a poker night, man. It's we no money on the table, of course, no money on the table, just good fun between buddies.
There you go.
But yeah, you guys got to come down. It'll be a good time. I definitely want to show you the inside of Pittsburgh, man. And a testament to your book, I think I have read 3 books in my life, and yours is probably going to be number 4. So
nice. That's great. I mean, that's a huge honor.
Right.
Not a podium finish, but close.
So yeah, again, if you want to check out Josh and his work, you could search him on Amazon. Second Story Work is the name of the book. You can get it on in paperback. You can get it on Kindle. Keep looking out for his videos. If you follow him on Facebook, author Josh Cybulski, follow him on Instagram, follow him on Twitter. He posts pretty much daily the Seconds to Work updates, and they're only about 3.5 minutes long. So they're easy watches, and they're just an update on what's going on with him in the project and everything. As always, you can follow Chad at MadChad412. You can follow me at Eddie_P_412. Josh, you can follow him on Twitter as well at Josh, just at Cybulski Josh. Well, that's your author Twitter. Your personal Twitter is just Josh Cy, right? Or J Factor.
Yeah.
J Factor.
I think they're shutting that one down, but we'll see.
Oh boy. You and Chad, man, getting into Twitter jail.
I'm not really, but yeah, kind of. Chad more than me, I think.
Yeah, Chad's constantly in Facebook jail, man. He's like, it's every other week. He's dude, can you take care of the Facebook upload? Because I'm in jail again. So yeah, you could check us all out on social media. We'll put all the links in the description. As always, we want to thank MCM Studios for sponsoring the podcast. Shout out to Mike Hitt. If you're looking for anybody to do some audio recording or any audio engineering, editing, mastering, producing, Mike is absolutely 100% your guy. All you've got to do is go to Google and search him and see that I think every single review is a 5-star review. And
can I talk about him for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be more in 1 second, but that episode that you guys did with him, that dude made me want to run through a wall. Like he did. I remember I messaged Chad right after. I'm like, man, I'm ready to run through a wall right now listening to this thing. That dude was inspiring as hell.
Yeah, my dad never hits me up, about like unless it's like Pomp or somebody, recognizable. And he messaged me about Mike, was like, man, that dude's really got his stuff together. And like, he's really got a plan. And, my dad was impressed with him. I was impressed with him. I felt the same way. Like he really kind of pushed me to, get back into more of the multimedia stuff that I wanted to get into with the photography and the, videography. So yeah, Mike is just, I mean, he's just a genuinely good dude. But MCM Studios, I'm very proud to say that we're sponsored by them and we're partnered up with them. If you mention 412 Sports Talk or my name or Chad's name, you will get 15% off of your first studio session with Mike. So take advantage of that, because not only is a studio session with him, like, you're going to get quality work out of that, but he's going to cultivate you. He's going to take the time to give you the tough love and, the positive reinforcement that you're going to need as an artist and as a musician, or, whatever you're going there to record. So definitely, again, MCM Studios, you can check them out at 412mcmstudios.com. Again, we're so happy to be sponsored by them. And again, check them out as well. For Chad, for Josh, I am Eddie P. We appreciate you watching. If you've made it this far, God help you. But you could check us out next week. I will believe we'll have DK on. Is that right, Chad?
Thursday, yeah.
So yeah, we'll next episode will be DK. Josh, thanks for joining us, man. Great having you on.
Thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, and we will see you guys next week. Take care.
Thanks for listening to 412 Sports Talk. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. If you like the show, leave us a review, and be sure to tell a friend about your source for all things Pittsburgh sports. Find us on Twitter at MadChad412 and at Eddie_P_412.